Hi everyone, today I will be doing another commentary of a game by Grandmaster Li Yiting, who hails from Hubei province. He was the 1958 Chinese National Xiangqi Champion after dethroning Yang Guanglin. Grandmaster Li is known for his central cannon with riverbank cannon variation, and his style of play is very versatile. He can be very strong, he can be quick, he can be slow, he can be very steadfast. And because of Grandmaster Li Yiting and his contributions to the Hubei province Xiangqi, Hubei has been able to produce many other national champions like Dahua, Hongzhi, Wang Yang. This photo is one of the rare photos that I found on the internet. And Grandmaster Li's opponent was Master Ji Benhan, who is from Jiangsu province and still very active in Xiangqi and promoting the game. He's a very well-known Xiangqi scholar and was head of the Xiangqi department in Jiangsu before retiring about 2 decades ago. In this photo, we can see that on the left will be Grandmaster Xu Tianhong, Master Yan Mujiang, Grandmaster Xu Cao, and Master Ji Benhan himself. Without further ado, we shall see how their match went. Red started with the central cannon, and Black played the screen horse defense. In this match, Master Ji Benhan chose a very proactive and aggressive variation with the rank chariot instead of moving the elephant to the center. And as a continuation of his aggressiveness, Black's Ji Benhan developed his rank chariot to one of the red files. Some other commonly played variations would be E7 plus 5, H8 plus 9 for the edge cannon for chariot exchange variation, or H7 plus 6 for the riverbank horse variation. And all these different variations are very complex and have their own rules of engagement. Instead of C8 equals to 9, another commonly used attacking tactic would be to push the central pawn forward, as can be shown here. This is one possible line with P5 plus 1. And Red will still have a slight advantage, but Black will still have a very playable game. And back to the match. In the match, Red played C8 equals to 9 for the 5-9 cannons. And Red chose to use a very direct and aggressive approach by pushing his central pawn forward. At this point, another commonly played variation would be P3 plus 1, which is shown, a possible line is shown here. And Black would still have a playable game and would be able to handle Red's aggressions. And instead of P3 plus 1, Black chose to be aggressive by pushing his rank chariot forward to Red's pawn rank. Red would be now attacking the central file, so the question would be, how would Black defend? In the match, E7 plus 5 was played. However, if A6, what would happen if A6 plus 5 were played instead? A possible line is shown here. And Black would sacrifice his horse for this very aggressive variation. Blood will be spilled over the board very quickly, and there will be little room for error. In the match, Master Ji Benhan chose to play e7 plus 5 to fortify his central file. And the grandmaster chose to develop his horse to the left flank. With this exchange of horses, the cannon will be able to attack the central file, which was one of the predominant ways of attacking back in the 1950s and 60s. If red had not played h8 plus 9 and chose to develop his chariot instead, a possible line would be shown here. Retreating the cannon by red was to allow for his other cannon to move to the central file to add pressure on black's central file, and black will counter very aggressively by retreating a cannon of his own and in preparation for cx plus 5. At this point, it will be anybody's game and there will be little room for error, and if red were not careful, black were able to pack a very strong counter punch and seize the initiative. In the match, red chose to play h8 plus 9 to capture the edge pawn, and black subsequently agreed to trade horses. However, this would seem to be a very nonchalant move and without much consideration, because this would be what red had hoped for. If black had not traded horses and played c8 equals 9 to trade chariots, this might be what had happened. After trading, the cannon will still be protecting the black horse, and if red continued to trade horses, the loss in initiative will be great, and black will be prepared to counter very aggressively. And if black refused to trade chariots and chose to play r2 equals to 4, black would then trade horses, and his left flank, especially his left chariot, would have an open line for development. So at this point in time, it would have been better for black to have played i8 equals to 9 to offer an exchange of chariots instead of choosing to trade horses at this point. Then this was another criticized move, because with playing r3 equals to 7, it would be basically a situation whereby red would be attacking as red was prepared to sacrifice his horse. And this was mark the start of black's final downfall. The grandmaster showed that he had a very accurate assessment of the situation on the board. Instead of r2 equals to 6, one might consider if r2 equals to 7 to capture the pawn would be a better move, but we shall see. And in the match, the master defended with a6 plus 5 to fortify his central file. One might wonder what would happen if black had traded his central cannon for red central cannon. Would that have been better? The answer would be no, as we shall see from this variation. This move was played by black to attempt a checkmate with c8 equals to 5 to capture the central advisor, followed by r7 plus 2 for the checkmate. That was why red had to move his king to safety, and in doing so, red would have now controlled I have three major pieces attacking black's right flank. And at this point, black's defenses would have been blasted to smithereens, and black would lose material. The lack of defensive material would mean that red would go on to win the match very easily. That was why trading cannons would not be a possibility. Back to the match. After fortifying the central file, red continued his attack on black's empty right flank. Another check, and black resigned. If black had not played a5 plus 4 in the previous move and chose to retreat his king instead, black would still have captured the advisor and go for the checkmate. Hence, that was why after black had to play a5 plus 4, and after red captured the advisor on the bottom rank, black resigned. At this point, one might wonder why did black resign. Okay, so for example, if black tried to be aggressive and attempt a checkmate with r8 equals to 3, red would check, capture the advisor with protection from his central cannon, and checkmate. If black tried to fortify his central file, red will still go for the check, and after this discovered check, black will lose his chariot and probably the game. Perhaps the only way that black could resolve this checkmate situation or prevent this chariot from being lost would be to either capture the central cannon or sacrifice his chariot in this manner. In either way, the loss of a chariot and red's material superiority would just mean that it was a matter of time before red won. That was why black decided to resign. Looking back at the game, we can see that there were two major areas in black's play that were questionable. According to Qi, the magazine from which this board was taken, the first major blunder that black had was to use his horse to trade for red's edge horse, and in this situation, after trading it, the red cannon will be allowed to play a very important role in black's demise. The other questionable part about black's play was moving the chariot away from this very important line, as the presence of the chariot here would discourage the red chariot from moving or developing and attacking. And capturing the red horse, or accepting red's offer, was another big mistake, as can be seen. Black's entire right flank was very empty, and red would slowly be able to orchestrate an attack on the black right flank, and eventually win. So I hope you have enjoyed this game as much as I have, and I think I will do more commentaries when I'm free, and I thank all for your support and your comments. Thank you.